What's up everybody, Beefy here again. Today we're going to talk about the Underlight Angler. It's an artifact fishing pole from Legion. This is the only item in the game that lets you walk on water, increases your fishing skill, and while it's equipped and you're underwater, you turn into a shark, which increases your swim speed. It does not, however, allow you to walk on water while mounted. Another restriction worth noting is that none of those skills are immediately available as soon as you get the fishing pole. There is a bit more work that you'll have to do in order to unlock all of these features. However, all that being said, as an avid angler myself, I can absolutely say that the quality of life improvements that come with it are worth all the work. Also, it just looks pretty damn cool. In this video, I'll take you through learning fishing for the very first time all the way through to getting the Underlight Angler, and then I'll also show you how to level it up so you can have access to all those cool features. So as an aspiring angler, the first thing you should do is train fishing. Go to your capital city and find the fishing trainer. That's not the fishing trainer. Fishing trainer is right up here in Orgrimmar. Be sure to train for the fishing skill and then each individual expansion's trainings. I did this on my fresh level 50 mage, so just to show you guys what it looks like when you have never trained before. The vast majority of the work that you're going to do in order to get the Underlight Angler is unlocking the achievement Bigger Fish to Fry. This achievement requires you to catch every single rare fish that's in the Legion expansion, and every single rare fish requires a rare lure. Now this is going to bring us to our first major decision point. Are you going to go to the auction house and buy the lures, or are you going to fish them up? Buying all the lures on the auction house can be very expensive because the lures go for between 1,000 to 10,000 gold each, and there's 17 of them total. However, going out to fish them up yourself could result in hours or even days spent without seeing them. But ultimately the choice is yours. Once you've got your fishing lures, we'll head over to the Broken Isles and we'll start fishing in this order. First, we'll stop at the Great Sea, which is everything outside of the landmass proper. Next up, we'll travel to Azsuna. After Azsuna, we'll make a stop at Val'Sharah. After Val'Sharah, we'll hit up Highmountain. Then we'll go to Stormheim. And then we're going to wrap everything up in Suramar. Our first stop is going to be the Great Sea. Now the Great Sea definitely lives up to its name. It's huge. However, I found a really good spot that's conveniently located just outside of Dalaran. So if you open your map, go to Broken Isles, and then go into Azsuna's map, it's actually just outside of Azsuna, just on the edge. Right there at 4070. And it's a nice little rock. You can stand there and fish all day long. You don't need a water walking potion or anything of that nature. You also won't have to worry about any mobs coming to get you because there's nothing around. So here in the Great Sea, we're looking for three things. One, a message in a bottle, which will get us the Axefish eventually. Two is decayed whale blubber, which is pretty cool and will get us the ancient black barracuda. And finally, the stunned angry shark, which will get us the Seabottom Squid. Now, the stunned angry shark you can't buy in the auction house because it only lasts, I think, 1 minute in your inventory once you do fish it up. I just fished it up here, and as you can see, there's a countdown of 40 some seconds at this point. Click on it, and when you do, it'll spawn a landlocked shark there that'll come up and try to bite you. Kill him and loot him, and when you loot him, you'll see that you get the Seabottom Squid. Something that's really cool about the actual rare fish, not the lures, but the fish, is that if you catch them before you have the Underlight Angler, you can throw them back into the water for a skill increase. So if you're leveling your fishing, this is a great way to do it. So next up, we've got the Axefish. Axefish comes from a message in a beer bottle, which turns into an Axefish lure, which then you use to catch the Axefish. So here we have the message in a bottle, just used it. Use the Axefish lure that comes out of the message in the beer bottle. Now you're good to start fishing, and good luck, because even though you've gotten the rare lures, it does not provide a 100% guarantee that you'll catch the rare fish. And we're ready to move on to the whale blubber. So once you either fish up or buy the decayed whale blubber from the auction house, and then you go out and you use it somewhere on the Great Sea, you will see this ravenous fly start to fly towards the whale blubber. Click on him, either when he gets to it or before he gets there, and you'll see Ravenous Fly pop up in your inventory. When it's in your inventory, click it, and you'll get the Ravenous Fly Fishing buff. Now that you've got the buff, you've got a solid 5 minutes to get out there and fish to your heart's content, and hopefully pull up an ancient black barracuda. Now that you've picked up all 3 of the rare fish from the Great Sea, we're going to move on to Azsuna. So I got excited and I started fishing before I pushed record. That's why I had to go back to the mailbox to pick these things up. We'll go ahead and get started with the Scrog Toenail. Scrog Toenail will give you a buff as soon as you enter Azsuna with it in your inventory. We'll get back to the Scrog Toenail in just a minute. I want to point out that we will also be using a rusty Queenfish brooch and a pearlescent conch here in Azsuna. Alright, so back to the toenail. Once the buff is finished counting down to 0, you'll get this Salt Eye Scrog Hunter spawn, and you'll kill him. He should drop the aromatic Murloc slime. In this case he did not, because I already had one in my inventory because, like I said, I got a little excited and I went fishing before I went recording. Also, I want to point out that you can buy this aromatic Murloc slime on the auction house, but in any case, once you have the slime and you use it and you start fishing in Azsuna, you should fish up a Leyshimmer Blenny. Once you've got your Leyshimmer, now we can use the pearlescent conch, and it's very easy. Go ahead, click it, you'll get a different buff, and that's all there is to it. You should fish up a Nar'thalas Hermit fairly quickly. Now we're coming to one of my favorites, the rusty Queenfish brooch. This one's one of my favorites because after you use it, you're able to see Queenfish schools using your Find Fish tracker on the minimap. And the reason that's great is because when you're fishing in these pools, you have a 100% chance of finding exactly that fish. So fly around for a bit and eventually you'll come across a school of fish that looks like this. Looks kind of ghostly and whatnot. I found mine there at 4744 in Azsuna, and it's 100% catch rate. Just make sure your bobber is in the school and you're good to go. So there's your ghostly queenfish, and one thing I want to point out here is that you can track your progress and make sure that you're not missing anything along the way. So you go into your achievements, you type in bigger fish to fry, and you can see that we've completed the Great Sea and Azsuna. Now we're off to Val'Sharah. Here in Val'Sharah there's a great fishing spot just outside of Lor'lathel. Right here around 5273, there's no bad guys here, there's no mobs, there's just this Fey darter you gotta worry about who might get in the way a little bit. In Val'Sharah we'll be using a drowned thistleleaf to get a Thorned Flounder. Then we'll be using a rotten fishbone to get an ancient Mossgill. And finally, we'll be using a Nightmare Nightcrawler to get a Terrorfin. Starting with the drowned thistleleaf, go ahead and use it, and all that it's going to do is spawn a drowned thistleleaf. And I guess you're returning it to the earth or whatever you're doing, and what that's going to do is give you a buff. With that buff, you'll fish up the Thorned Flounder. Next up is the rotten fishbone. Go ahead and use the rotten fishbone, and you'll see a rotten fishbone get thrown onto the ground. Stand around for another couple of seconds, and eventually, wait for it, a Lor'lathel druid in cat form will pop up and eat the dead fish. And as a way of saying thanks, I guess, he gives you the cat's meow buff. Cat's meow buff is exactly what you're going to use to turn around and fish up your ancient Mossgill. Finally, last but not least, we'll be using the Nightmare Nightcrawler in order to fish up a Terrorfin. And that should wrap up Val'Sharah nice and neat. So again, go back to your achievements and just make sure that everything's on track. We've done 3 zones and we've gotten 9 fish. Looks good. Now we're off to Highmountain. This is where I like to fish in Highmountain, just outside of Riverbend. I guess it's in Riverbend, I don't know, but check out that view, it's just pretty. Alright, once you're done soaking up the sights, go ahead and pull out your Frostworm and use it. You'll get a nice little buff called Frostworm, and that will enable you to catch a Coldriver Carp. Alright, next up is the Swollen Murloc Egg. Go ahead, click it, and you'll see this funny little guy spawn right next to you, and he will give you a buff called Blessing of the Murlocs. Sounds pretty sweet. And thanks to this blessing, you will pick up a Mountain Puffer. Finally, you've got the Funky Sea Snail. Now, the Funky Sea Snail is supposed to act just like Scrog's Toenail from Azsuna, where it counts down your buff, and at the end of the buff, you spawn a creature that gives you the lure. I was having issues, so what I did, I logged out, I logged back in. Lo and behold, the countdown was properly counting down, and after 2 minutes of enjoying the sights, Mr. Bitestone Fishburl popped up, and I whacked him with my fishing rod. I looted him, I got the salmon lure, which I used, and got another buff for 5 minutes, and then I went fishing. Eventually was able to pick up the ancient Highmountain salmon. So that wraps it up for Highmountain. Again, go ahead, check your bigger fish to fry, and make sure that we only have 6 left to go. And we're off to Stormheim. In Stormheim, this is where I like to fish, right around 5468. First up in Stormheim is the Moosehorn hook. Go ahead, use the Moosehorn hook, and you will get a buff that you will use to fish up a silver scale minnow. Use this silver scale minnow here as a lure again, and then fish with it. Once you're done fishing, you should pull up a Thundering Stormray. Next up, we got the Vrykul Ring. The Vrykul Ring is another one of my favorites because it's a 100% chance to fish up the Oodelfjordan fish from the school. So again, hop on your mount, fly around till you find one of these Oodelfjisken pools and fish them up. I was really rolling the dice on this one. I probably should have brought some water walking potions or something. That's another good piece of advice. Grab some of those. I barely made this one. Alright, you should have your Oodelfjisk at this point. So next up, we're going to use the Soggy Drake Scale in order to get a tasty looking lobster. So go ahead and use the Soggy Drake Scale. You'll get the Soggy Drake Scale buff, and same as before, go ahead, fish it up, and you should get a Graybelly Lobster. Now that wraps up Stormheim. Again, just double check your achievement progress, make sure you're still good to go, and then we will hop on over to Suramar. Alright, so here we are in Suramar at around 5147. We'll go ahead and use the Enchanted Lure in order to pick up the Magic Eating Frog. And there's nothing fancy to this one. Just go ahead, click them, and use it. And here you can see I got pretty lucky and pulled up another Enchanted Lure. So, moving on to the Demonic Detritus. Detritus? I don't know how to say that. Anyway, just use Demonic Detritus the way you've used all the other lures up till now. Again, there's nothing fancy about this one. Use it, click it, you should pull in your Tainted Runescale Koi. I really get a kick out of this Sleeping Murloc one. Go ahead and slap him awake, he will freak out and just start running around while pooping out fish everywhere. So all you gotta do is run on top of these fish and you'll pick them up. And you should get the achievement there, bigger fish to fry. So congratulations, you've gotten the hard part done. Now we have to go fish in schools of fish. That's a terrible sentence. You gotta go fish in schools of fish. I don't know how else to say that. Yeah, you gotta go to these things, the big circles where fish are inside of. You gotta go in there and just fish until you pull up a luminescent pearl. Sorry, luminous pearl. Fish that up and start that quest. You can only start this quest after you have completed the bigger fish to fry achievement. So accept the quest. Go over to Khadgar here in Dalaran and turn in the quest. He'll say, hey, go talk to Marcia over by the fountain. Head on over to the fountain, and then she'll just say, oh, that's kind of weird. And you're kind of stuck here. If you're like me and you didn't play this character through Legion, you'll be kind of stuck because you've got this bird or whatever, or one of the other class hall messengers coming up to talk to you. So just accept that quest to get rid of him, and then our old buddy Nat Pagle will show up. Nat Pagle will show up and say, hey, I found this crazy thing. Basically, it's going to start a scenario where you go in and there's 3 stages. First stage is go around, kill all the murlocs. Stage 2 is fish. So just go fishing and pick up gloaming frenzies. You can fish up the gloaming frenzies, or sometimes when you're fishing, you'll spawn a mob and kill that mob and loot it, and then you'll get more gloaming frenzies. Do that until you've got 15 of them. Finally, once you've got 15 of them, you'll start stage 3, which is called delivery. Head on over to this bubbly pond, talk to Nat, and get ready to fish. Once he throws the chum bucket in, it'll start stage 4. Go ahead, fish up the boss guy. Boss guy has been fished up. Maglurp. Kill him. You do not loot him. You don't do anything. You basically wait for Nat to stop talking and for this boat to spawn behind you to the left. Once the boat spawns, run on over and click it, and then turn in the quest to Marcia. And there you go. Complete the quest and you've got the Underlight Angler. This thing is pretty fantastic. However, it must be said that now that you've got it, all it's going to do for you is A, look super cool, but B, increase your fishing by 15. It does not have any other stats with it yet. So what you gotta do is go fish up the same rare fish that you got in order to get it to power it up. So you can see here, I went back out, I got some Magic Eater frogs after I got the Underlight Angler, and now it's adding artifact power to it. Once you unlock that first node, it unlocks all of the rest of the Underlight Angler's potential powers. And in order to unlock each of those nodes so you can actually use them, you've got to feed it more and more and more rare Legion fish. So you got a lot of work to do, but again, I think it's totally worth it. Also, one thing to note is that all of the fish that you fished up beforehand will not count towards artifact power. So all of these Tainted Runescale Koi and the other rare fish that you fished up to get the fishing rod will not count towards artifact power. You can see here, it clearly states that it's going to increase your Legion fishing skill by 5. So they're basically worthless. You can sell them, vendor them, do whatever you want, but they will not increase the power of Underlight Angler. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something out of it. I know that I was curious if I'd still be able to pick this bad boy up even with the level squish and all the other things that have been going on waiting for Shadowlands, but there you have it. You can pick it up. Go get it. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.